continue to invest in this AI app, and it's one of the most loved tools on the market right now. Yes, Google Notebook LM, which is now called Gemini Notebook, is a fan favorite, and that's why 30 million people already use this app. So you may be here because you've heard about this, or you're considering checking it out, or you're exploring it for the first time, and you're looking for some practical ways to use it in work, life, study, and more. Gemini Notebook is your research and thinking partner, and I'm here to show you how to get started. Okay, so if you don't know the basics, let's just jump in with a 3 easy step setup. If you know the basics already, skip to these timestamps to save yourself a bit of time. So first and foremost, this is Gemini Notebook, and you can go ahead and get step number 1 done, which is go ahead and create a notebook. Creating a notebook is sort of like its own house. Notebooks can't really relate to each other. However, they're a good place to add all your sources, and that's what we're going to do next. Step 2 is add your sources. Now, sources can be added from a range of different ways. You can drag a PDF, an image, a document, an audio file within this area here, or you can upload a website with multiple links. From here, you can add a range of different URLs that you've collected, whether that's a YouTube video, a website that has some great sources on, whatever it may be. Now, you can also upload from Google Drive too. If you've got Google Drive connected, like me, I can go in my recents and bring in a document that I might need. Any sources can be brought in here, and you can even type in a website or a web source or a general search term quickly to be able to bring anything in. There are 2 types of way to bring in research. Fast research, which is quick and easy results, and the secondary is deep research. This is for a more in-depth topic and better reports and results from it. One final note on the uploads, you can also copy text as well, which is again very helpful. So here's one I made earlier, and I want to show you the final step of this, and that's the output that you can create. This is a notebook with 5 different sources, a range of different sources at that, all the way from Markdown to documents to a YouTube video, and you can see I can chat with it in the center here. That's the whole concept of being able to converse with the data that you put in. But the real power of this is over here on the right hand side. You can see that you've got a studio of features, including an audio overview, which is the podcast feature, a slide deck, video overview, mind map, reports, flashcards, quiz, infographics, and data table. Now you can also try their brand new short video overviews as well, which turns into a short whatever you're doing, so that it's a more of approachable learning technique. So you're probably wondering what's best for study. A quiz, a flashcards, even a slide deck is incredibly helpful. For work, reports, infographics, and data tables will be helpful. For absolutely anyone, a audio and video overview will be fantastic. And for those visual thinkers, mind maps, infographics, flashcards will work incredibly well. So you can see here, this is what they look like. I can go ahead and open them and interact with them as if I was interacting with any output that you produce inside of an app. So now we've got the basics done, let's dive into some of the deeper use cases with real life examples. Before we do roll into the examples, today's video is sponsored by Granola. It's my go-to meeting tool. It's fantastic for joining a meeting and starting to just talk and get the meeting done. It will then produce the notes for you and also help you to connect up apps so you can save time on interactions afterwards. It's the perfect meeting tool, and if you have a meeting in a week, I'd recommend checking it out. Link will be in the description, including a healthy discount to get started. Use case number 1 is studying. We're going to create a notebook perfect for students, not only for exams, essays, but also learning on the move. Let's go through all of that in one. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new notebook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and upload some files. Now, remember with this, my objective is to have as much insight as possible. So I'm going to chuck in a bunch of things that are related to a specific topic I'm doing right now, and I'm going to look at it from an exam and essay perspectives first. So once I upload those are going to go into my notebook, and it's going to obviously be customized slightly to what that particular thing is. In this case, it's PSY 204 Memory and Cognition course. And this is going to help me start. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say predict the exam questions and then create a quiz. Okay, as you can see, what it's done here is it's taken all the sources and now it's going to reference them with giving me predictions of what those quiz items are. Now, you will have noticed on the right-hand corner, there's the studio, and that's generating the quiz that is already being created, if that makes sense. What I really like about this is it's broken down exactly where certain things are mentioned in the sources that I've created along here, and it's given me revision advice as well. And now it's generated the memory quiz. So I'm going to pop this open in the viewer, and you can see it's already generated the quiz. So here I will not have a clue any of these answers, but you can see that the feedback is quite in depth because it's got all of the sources. So in this case, it's not just giving me the right answer, but it's also telling me why this answer and why it isn't right, which is incredibly helpful. So that quiz can be activated on the go, and you can go up to the top right hand corner or left hand corner and see the prompt and the sources that it brought from exactly. So the really nice thing is if you go in the top right hand corner, press share, you can share the artifact with a buddy in your class, which is going to be a big time saver for them and you. Now, other things that you can do inside of here, it's not just exam cram, that point of time that you're working towards stuff. You can also do load 10 papers, and you can find contradictions and outline the argument with citations. So for example, we're going to open a new chat here. So we're going to go ahead and ask it, load the past papers, tell me how they contradict each other, and give me an argument outline with citations back to each source. So as you can see, it's gone ahead and done that. And because I've got the past papers in there, it's actually continuing to reference the right sources here. And as you can see, it's taken what ones are going to be incredibly helpful. If you press this save note button, it's going to generate the note as part of the studio area, meaning that I now have this note that is around the paradox between the two of them to be available. And I can even convert it as a resource or source if I want to relate back to it. So finally, learning on the move. If you've got the Gemini Notebook app, this means you can bring it with you. So in this case, if you're going on a short walk, you can set the language to English, set short, go into brief overview, and type in something like explain the tension between forgetting and reconsolidating theories for my exam. If I press generate, I'm going to go over to the app to show you that's copied over. So it's just generated the mobile version of this. And as you can see, you can open it up, press play.
This is the brief on the tension between forgetting and reconsolidation for your Side 204 exam. So to get those top marks, we're talking a 70 plus.
So what's really important is it takes about 10 minutes to generate an audio overview, and even longer for some of the bigger ones. So just be aware of that before you set off on your walk. But what a fantastic resource. You can also download it to your device as well, which means you can view it offline if you did want to do that. So now I'm going to show you an example for business. Now, many people don't know that 600,000 organizations already use Gemini Notebook, and that's quite a lot of people, and it's for these multiple use cases. So I'm going to show you 3 of them. The first one is looking at your competitors. So I'm going to load up some documents about competitors, and it's already brought them in. So one of the things I'm going to do is go over to the report section, and I'm going to go ahead and ask, create your own. I'm going to ask for competitor breakdown. Things they do well, things we do well, things we could do better. And I'm going to go ahead and generate that. Whilst that's generating, I'm going to do my second use case, and that is the customer feedback side. I have got support tickets, 96 support tickets here in a CSV file, and you can see that it's already summarized it for me. But if I open it up, I can see all of those support tickets brought in, which is like quite a lot of information to even process. So I'm going to ask Gemini Notebook in the center, what are the top 3 recurring issues from customers? You'll notice as well, I've brought in customer reviews as well. So I've not only got the positive, but I've also got the negative of the support tickets to sort of bounce across 2 of those. So you could do the inverse question if you wanted to. What are the top 3 things people typically say good about us? So while that's loading, I'm going to go over here and check my competitor report. Now, as you can see, what it's done is it's not only given me a breakdown of how we compare to competitors, but it's also taking internal data from those support tickets and referencing them as well to competitors when they were brought up. You can also see that we see, for example, what the pricing is and how it compares, as well as things like exchange of information around the data sovereignty and internal differentiators, as well as a critical gap and where you could start to lead into strategically. So really impressive breakdown. And obviously you can see the prompt and the resources. A better prompt would create a better result. So going back to this, you can see that it's already started to generate from the 28 combined reports, the automation limits, the migration and data loss, and mobile app limitations are the biggest 3 support ticket issues. And of course, that's incredibly useful information to be able to pull straight away from these sources. Now, one final example I'm going to use in business in this use case is onboarding. So say you created this one as your company's folder for getting started, this notebook for getting started, and you decided to make it the source or brain for company knowledge when a new starter joins. So a new starter could, for example, open the chat and say, who's the best person to talk to about, actually, I could say something like, what is the best performing contract right now? And I'm able to get these company insights just a few seconds away instead of having to ask a million team members. So I can start understanding how the company works, or I could ask critical questions about where things are, how things are placed. And you can see here that in Q2, they've seen a number of jumps between the team and the business plan, and you can start to understand what contract in this case working best. So next up, I want to show you how teachers may potentially be able to use this. So what we're going to do here is create a new notebook and upload some sources. We're going to do some lesson prep as well as some materials that some of the students can have, like a handout or worksheet, and also produce a revision pack, which I can share with the class, which has an audio overview and a quiz that they can use at home. So really, really practical if you're a teacher, because you can bring in stuff that they'll be able to practically use and sources that aren't necessarily, or at least you can control the sources as a teacher of what you want brought into this folder. So you can see one thing you can do is actually customize these a little bit. So if you had a chosen image you wanted to use, you could even set a custom notebook summary, which is great for teachers because they will like to make it feel more comfortable for their students to be in. So what I want to do here is generate a lesson sequence with a starter, activity, and exit question. So this is great prep work for a teacher because this sort of stuff is going to take quite a vast amount of time to set up, but it's going to be a lot easier to be able to approach for the other students. So as you can see, a starter activity has come out 5 minutes based on the sources, and it brings in the references, what each of the class are doing, an activity in this case, and also an exit question. The great thing about this is it's a bit of an ideation area for the teacher, as well as being able to share that insight with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to create a homework material in 3 separate reading levels. This is so that students can go away and feel like they're more in control of the source that they have. In this case, a different type of approach to each of the different lessons. So as you can see here, it started to produce it based on the activity, and you can see the target reading age 14 plus, and you can start to get an idea of what. So one thing as a teacher you might want to do is create a slide deck, but you might want it on a particular level so that students can go and take it away and use it. But they might also want intermediate and advanced if they're feeling a little bit sort of more engaged. So I can go ahead and ask it to create a beginner level slide deck. And what it's going to do over here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a short presentation. This is for beginners, students to get started. And what it's going to do is kick off what they're covering across the whole term in a simple slide deck. You can also create an intermediate one and an advanced one. One thing that you could do if you're feeling particularly focused on one student, for example, one that may have dyslexia, you could say something like, create Amara in the class a dedicated audio overview that meets her needs, C class 9B. And that will go ahead, reference a source, and then produce a better prompt that will then make it more suitable for her and the reading age and obviously the dyslexia side of stuff. So as you can see, it's starting to generate that. I'm sure we'll come back later and have a look at that. But as you can see, it's come back with looking for send specific provisions and an audio that will be simplified, accessible, and explanation of week 3's core topics so that it's not too overwhelming to listen to. Another core example I've just preloaded is a travel companion, something that's going to help you to plan your trip, include all of the details about it so that you know and can ask questions to AI as you go. So one of the things is loading and all of those booking confirmation stuff. If you've got things like your hotel, your tickets, you can ask like, what's my Tuesday? And instead of like going through tons of emails and finding it. You've brought the sources in through things like PDFs, things like city guides and Reddit threads, whatever suits you best. And you can start to see, here we go. On Tuesday, you've got a scheduled dinner. Here's the location and basically everything you need to know. So you could save that note as something simple like Tuesday's dinner, and then you're able to just get started straight away. You could also do stuff like a bit of local research, like you could say, what's worth exploring in my free time? And of course, you're going to get more of a specific example of what your context is. Like, for example, if you don't have any free time, it might suggest you don't. If you did, it might not just be able to pull from the internet. It's going to pick what stuff you typically like because you've uploaded things like a museum ticket. And as you can see, the first full day, it's recommending half day because obviously I've got some plans that day and other recommendations. So one of the other things is you can do is you could say something like, I want to go to and I want to copy in Belém for a day, create an audio overview of it as I walk and see and learn about it. And as you can see, it started to generate that, including how the hosts are going to cover things like the monastery that you visit as well. So you can also ask someone like, give me 10 phrases to learn in flashcards to use within the city, and it's going to go off and generate them for you, meaning it's going to be a great way to set up some Portuguese for you as you go around the city in a more fun, interactive way. So you're probably curious about what Notebook LM or Gemini Notebook actually costs and how you can get started with it. Well, basically there is a free plan that's totally free, and it does have a fair amount of limitations. Then there is this one, the Gemini Notebook in Plus, which is part of your Google AI Plus plan. It's bundled in there and it's $4.99. And then you've got Pro, which is $19.99, and Ultra, which is between $99 and $199. So again, it really depends on how you're using it. I've never found it's gone overboard in terms of using it, even on the free plan. But if you're absolutely hammering it, you'll definitely find a limit. I would recommend looking at the AI bundle pricing. What you get with the other apps is particularly impressive. So some of the other things that you might need to know is you now are able to get this as part of the Gemini Mac app. The main reason I mention this is because they're trying to embed this further and further into Google's ecosystem. And as of July 16th, they changed the name, but they also made it a lot more approachable, available in the Mac app and accessible there. It's also going to be available in AI mode, which I'm going to talk about later on in this video, a little bit later. And they've also introduced a secure cloud computer per notebook, which means you'll have more coding, execution of code abilities. You saw it slightly in that, where it was able to generate some stuff based on that. And the code was functioning as if you were communicating with it in a deeper sense, which is great news. And it continues to seem to refine that as well. Now, a few additional Gemini notebook tips. Now, many people will jump into this and sort of throw a lot of context at it. What I would recommend is not to stuff your notebook too much. The better the sources related to the outcome, the better the result. So for example, if you were creating a notebook for your company, don't create just one notebook, maybe create 5 or 6 depending on the situation. For example, if you were doing an onboarding thing, maybe the notebook called Onboarding would be best. And things as well, if you're traveling a lot and you've got 20 locations to go to, the context is going to be better if it's per location than it is if it's going to be all 20 in one. It will work, but it will be better if you produce just a dedicated notebook. The other thing you can do is you can find collections. These are multiple areas of notebooks. So for example, if you've got that company, you can bring into 5 notebooks into a collection, and that gives you a bit of a structure to those. Also, what's very valuable to do is take a look at the public gardens. You can share these notebooks and share it with other people. And Google themselves has said they're going to reference this inside of AI mode within search, which is incredibly valuable for those who want to create a knowledge base and then be able to share that within Google to be able to get ranked or maybe even to be able to be a helpful resource. So companies might find this beneficial if they have a particular expertise in a knowledge area to be able to share that information out there. So that was everything in Gemini Notebook. Hopefully it gave you a good broader idea. We covered 4 use cases, the basics and pricing and so much more. So a big thank you to stopping by. If you like this video, hit like, share it with somebody else, comment below because it all helps this video be more aware to other people. So a big thanks very much. If you're new to Toolfinder, hop over to toolfinder.com. You'll find loads of new apps and resources that you can check out. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.